At times, we all feel lost and in search of something more. This is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the podcast, a podcast designed to help inspire and guide you forward through everything spirituality, creativity, art, and just giving you a sense of empowerment so that you can be powerful, be magical, and be free. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Liberate the podcast. Today, we are welcoming our guest, Nina Marquez, with us. Now, she is the owner and creator of OnTheMarq Jumpsuit. That's this baby right here and what she's wearing. And also the owner and creator of the Champion system. And now that is a personal development system that really looks at taking the survival style success and changing that and moving towards thriving freedom. And it's really what I like about it is it uses this philosophy or the basis of it that is all about your challenges your challenges are because you're chosen, right? And like, if you have challenges in your life, that is because you're chosen. And there's so much more that we want to get into. And I read a little bit about her story, and it is just phenomenal to see where she's come from and what she's changed and shifted and how she's helping other people do the same.
Thank
you. Nina, welcome.
Thank you. I almost started tearing up. Thank you so much. I'm very humbled and super honored, first of all, to be in your establishment, and given that your journey is full of adventures and things that you've overcome and how you're being of service to others, and watching this community that you've built grow and others supporting each other within it I'm honored to be a part of your ecosystem here. This is awesome.
Ditto. We're honored to be part of each other's. And
Very cool.
I want to hear a little bit about, first off, I want people to hear a little bit about your story, right?
Okay.
Because I think that is something of understanding of why are people listening, right? Where have you come from? What are some of the things? And then where did you come up with this idea to create this champion system?
Okay.
And then I'm sure that led into this beauty right here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, the Champion system is actually an acronym. It stands for cleanliness, hydration, abundance, mindfulness, playfulness, inner circle, optimism, and nourishment. And there's a whole, I have an actual e-course, and I'm building out the university. So we have the digital plan available now, and then I do one-on-one. And I'm slowly but surely given my business coaches mad support of me building a group program. So I'm slowly building that. And where it came from was just this understanding, when I was on my own when I was 13, it was because my mother was a crack and heroin addict. My father, I didn't know him. Mm-hmm. If I can be really candid, I was molested and raped for several years. My mother was married to a felon who was also a pedophile. And then when I was on my own at 13, I suffered 2 other rapes from complete strangers.
Wow. So, that's definitely dealt some challenges, right? To use your language. I think that's a lot of trauma, that's a lot of pain. And I don't think, to have those types of experiences before even becoming a teenager even, right? Because you had to get to that point where you moved on your own at 13. This is more than most people ever go through in their whole lifetime. And in that concentrated few years, you had to figure out how to survive, how to pivot, and how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I think... I still, I think even today, a little bit struggle with the idea of taking it and really allowing it to be what it was, because I've never wanted to, as a lot of us do with PTSD, you want to not acknowledge the trauma. Mm-hmm. I acknowledge it, and I've been with it, and I've been present to it and worked through it, but at the same time, I feel like I've really wanted to not make it about me. I wanted to make it about overcoming, and wanted other people to know that I'm not alone, and to let them know that they're not alone. Because I don't think that I ever looked at myself like, oh, I suffered as a victim. I looked at it as I suffered through something that was there available to me to teach me. When I have a lot of friends that are, in the industry. We're in LA, and so we all have industry friends, right? And I have one particular friend, she's married to an A-lister. She's also, a socialite, and she's beautiful, and, she's made money modeling and acting. And one day she was just like, saying how when she grew up, everybody clapped in her family when she walked in the room. She said, I grew up with being applauded and being supported all my life. She said, I couldn't even imagine what your life is like. She goes, and then I married somebody who's an A-lister, and here we are living our perfect little life. And she goes, and now we're divorced, and I still have my perfect little life. She's like, Nita, that's boring. She goes, I look at you, and she's like, and what you have gone through, and that you brought 3 kids here to Los Angeles by yourself on your own income by yourself. She's like, I want to understand your life. And so when I have friends that, confidants that I confide in them, talking to me about that kind of stuff from that perspective, it makes me understand even more so how blessed I was to have those what we refer to as tragedies, or those suffrages. I just, even the word suffrage, you look at the women's liberation, the women's liberation movement, and all the many eras of it that we've gone through, and women's suffrage. Like, looking at that time, who were the greatest women through that movement?
Yeah.
The people we remember are, yes, we commemorate the people who have suffered, but the people who really built the legacies of breaking through the suffering and helping others be liberated through beyond the suffering, those are the change makers. Those are the groundbreakers. Those are the people that help us remember what we're made of is not surviving, not being broken, but breaking through. That's what we're here to do. Yeah. And so that's where that whole ideology of the challenged or the chosen comes from. And I really believe that. I really do.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's a higher level of like spiritual perspective too.
Oh, thanks.
when you get into like the higher levels of Tibetan Buddhism, or even on the more of probably a Buddhist, or looking at everything is happening, right? Everything is okay, and it's part of our life. But I like the way that you're saying that, and I know that it's probably jarring to a few people that, we hold on to our stories, we hold on to our pain, and there's unfortunately and fortunately, there's a duality to everything, right?
Yes.
And so there is something to gain by being a victim. There's something to gain by continuously living in the past, or what has happened. Maybe, that is more recognition. Maybe that's more, attention. Maybe that's the excuse to not be who you're meant to be, or to shine, or to do the things that you want to do. And, sorry if that's triggering to a couple people, but I do think that if we can listen with an open mind and hear what Nita's saying as somebody that lived through this, but also when you look at and you really do examine, like you were saying about your friend that kind of had this here's this golden path of appreciation and validation with nothing to have is that big of a struggle, and then to move forward in even more ease, right?
Yeah.
And she looks at you and says, wow, I wish that I learned some of these things, or I didn't have these type of challenges. And so I would say that that's a very evolved friend too, to have that awareness and that perspective, because from that perspective, you can really get that if regardless of anybody's faith, religion, belief system, whatever it is, if it's even just on this humanity evolutionary standpoint, we're meant to evolve, right?
Right.
And evolution is motion. And motion is only derived through friction.
Right.
That's the only way a car can move across the pavement, is it creates friction underneath. Any type of motion in general is friction. It's two atoms, friction to cause motion, right? To cause movement. And so if we're looking at that and saying, okay, well, wow, yes, there's pain. Yes, there's suffering.
Yes.
there's violation, and there's a lot of kind of reprogramming and retrust and how you've overcome some of those things to let people in your life, to build, to have this beautiful mindset, to have this loving expression to share to others. You know, there's something to be said, because a lot of people go like this when things happen, right? You know, a defense mechanism is close off, separate, seclude. I don't want to talk to anybody because talking to people or letting people in my life equals hate or hurt or whatever, right?
Right.
But you didn't do that, you know? And you allowed yourself at even a young age, it sounds like, to say, well, this happened for me in some way, shape, or form. To move, you know, not to me, but for me, which is a huge distinction in language, right?
Right.
And then it empowered you.
It did.
And now you're empowering others. Beautiful.
Thank you. I really appreciate your perspective and your dialect too. I love the word selection. You're also very evolved. I mean, which is why you can build this magnanimous community that you've built where people are really uplifted and uplifting each other. I think that also the other thing too, which I think is, I definitely don't want this missed, is I did go through many years of being defensive. Like, I learned how to fight and break through and evolve, or I should say grow past. I don't really feel like I evolved past any of it until I started looking at the traumas for what they were. For years, I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't talk about the rape that happened on my 14th birthday. It took me years. I still even get a little choked up because it's been so recent, like in the last decade, that I actually dealt with it. I was 14 years old. It was my birthday. And he was a complete stranger. It took me years to talk about that at all, let alone really deal with it. And so in those years, I wanted to point out that when I wasn't dealing with it, but I was just going ahead and being the fitness queen and being the great mom and being a good wife and doing all the things that everybody in society thought would make me a winner, which I felt like a champion then, but I think that there was a lot I was still sleeping on myself with because I wouldn't deal with those things.
Yeah.
So I did have anger issues for years, and like everybody was safe in my presence. Like, I wasn't physically violent, but I was really mean. If I got angry, I mean, I may as well have been physically violent with the way that I verbally maimed people. I mean, I sent some people like wanting to go to their grave.
Yeah.
You know, when I got done dicing them up with my words. And, you know, that I lived with those ghosts for years when I went into recovery for anger.
Yeah.
Because rage, nobody talks about this. It's just as addictive as sex addiction, alcoholism, porn addiction, drug addiction. It's all the same thing. Addiction is addiction. It's a chemical reliance that you can't break if you don't see it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was living in for years. And so the repression of those episodes and not dealing with them and going ahead and breaking through beyond them without actually pulling them apart and examining them and saying, I am bigger than this, but let me make sure that I sweep this out of my system and allow it to transcend and become something different while I'm breaking through it. That was the one part that I was missing. So when I started creating the champion system for something that my clients would use, it was because I had been applying it to me, because I was like, okay, let's see, I'm well hydrated, I'm very well nourished, and playfulness is activity and motion. I'm very active. I'm acing these areas. Everything else, I don't know if I can curse on here, but like, it was a complete shit show. It was like, I mean, I was like a solid 2 in every other range. I mean, in every other category, and it's an 8 category system. Yeah. It's like, okay, so 3 out of 8 is not really that good. So it wasn't really that stellar, even when I was doing my best. And so that's where the champion system actually came in, was in me realizing, like, not only are there a lot of people like me who have had trauma, there's a lot of people like me who have overcome it, but they actually haven't dealt with it.
Yeah,
and that was where that really, I was like, I need to talk about this.
No, I mean, it's so important because, like, you know, and you shared with us before the podcast on your forum and stuff like that, that it was like you had this outward, what society would deem successful and put together and everything like that, and on some of those marks that you're sharing, it's like, okay, I'm good on this one, I'm good on this one, I'm good on this one, but it doesn't, if you don't address the whole, right, you know, that that feeling or that loss, or maybe it can manifest as anger or rage, but it can also manifest as depression, anxiety, you know, whatever it might be. And that isn't a holistic fulfillment of life, right? Because then you're being controlled by these emotions that are being suppressed. Right?
Yes.
So you have these suppressed emotions, and you know, let's look at that. Let's look at anger and rage, right, for a second. It's like, where does that come from? It comes from pain. Where does pain come from? It comes from a lack of love or having a scarred on love, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, the cure for that is learning to love yourself. Right?
Yes, it so is.
And then there is no rage necessarily left, because then the love is there, right? But if it's like it reminds me of like the little Jack in the Box. You know, and that's what most people can do. And you know, like, and you can substitute rage or anger for maybe getting overwhelmed in your emotions, maybe having a very depressive episode, being completely like stressed out or lethargic, where you can't get off the couch because you deplete your adrenals and you're just done. You're like, go, and then you collapse, right? Yeah. You know, so many people have different versions of it.
Yes.
And you had this version, and you realize, you know what, I don't want to live with this anymore.
No. I had hit a rock bottom. You know how addicts, when they hit the rock bottom, that's when they finally get it together, right? I never knew that rage, first of all, was even a problem that I had. Second of all, when I realized it was a problem, I didn't know it was like a problem like my mother, who I had been enraged with for years and wouldn't speak to. I mean, we were basically estranged for 25 years. And I suddenly realized when I was in anger management, like, okay, so this is actually an addiction. So, oh, wait. So I can't be better than my mom, and I'm not better than my dad who didn't want me, and I'm not better than my ex-husband who abandoned our kids, and I'm not better than the people that have lied to me or betrayed me. You mean I can't be better than everybody? I have to get off my soapbox, and I actually have to be like, I'm also an addict. I actually have to be human. I can't be this perfect little robot who just wins all the time. What? Yeah. Wait, what's happening? My reality is getting shattered. That's what was happening. And I was recognizing, to your point, that the self-love that I had not been giving myself was also causing me to miss out on the lessons in those relationships that I was so busy judging.
Yeah.
And when that wave of reality washed over me, I think, and I don't know if this is going to sound weird to some people, that was the first time I feel like I heard the voice of God. Like, I mean, an audible voice and an internal voice. It was a man's voice that I felt and heard, and I thought somebody was in my house. And I was sweeping my floors, and I remember freaking out because I heard somebody say, "You've never forgiven anyone." And when I heard that voice, my whole body just froze, and I'm like, oh my God, somebody's about to kill me. Like, I was really freaking out. But when I went through all my closets and the showers and everything first, holding my broom, and then when I realized, okay, nobody's here, am I hearing things? When I actually sat with it for a second, and it washed over me, like I said, this wave of like realization, oh, I never have forgiven anyone. It was that realization that shifted everything for me. But that was about 7 months after I'd gotten into anger management that moment took place. So it was 7 months of hardcore concentrated treatment and work and self-examination and constant accountability and not letting myself rage out, just like a crackhead can't go and do crack, right?
Yeah.
And all those years of repression to get to that one moment that changed my entire life.
Yeah.
And when I was able to feel that, I just wept. And I felt like tons of weight just lifted off of me. And people trip out when I tell them this, but this is why it's good to get into my system, because we break traumas. And this is what happened. Within 6 weeks, I had $20 to my name that day. Within 6 weeks, I made $13,000.
Wow.
These are the kinds of things that happen to people. It's not all about money, but the measurable manifestations in our outer world that take place when we learn to love ourselves.
Oh my God, they're tremendous.
Mind-blowing.
You enjoying this so far? Did you forget to subscribe? Make sure to do so. Takes 2 seconds. Just press that little button, the red one. You know the one. Just press it, little like. All right, enjoy the rest of this content. Everything is correlated. Well, we were just talking about of all these different areas of your life, and you can say, oh, well, these 3 areas look like, they're 10s, right? And these ones are like down there.
Yeah.
Like,
and we skate on those 10s, don't we? We just skate on them.
But we're this whole element, and that sometimes people don't realize that your key to a loving relationship, or your key to financial abundance, or your key to career success, or your key to health and vitality, it is linked. You know?
Totally.
And sometimes it's the complete, like, something that you wouldn't even think, right? You would think, like, dealing with the anger issue is the key to opening up this floodgate of abundance, right?
Yes.
Most people wouldn't put that 2 to 2 together, because they would say, well, if I'm doing my work and I'm working hard and I'm hustling and I'm making things happen, or like this, well, I'm showing up, so I should be earning the income. Like, that, whether I'm angry or have this rage in my personal life, what does that matter and contribute to the career life? But it does, because we are vibrational energy. And if you're stuck in this vibration, people talk about high vibrations and low vibrations and all of these, where you're vibrating. It's just where you're vibrating. We're not here to judge. Just like we talked about, like, sometimes that is the most beautiful thing, that you can be in this rut for a little bit of time, because you say at the end of your life, how much did you grow? What were the lessons? What were the outcomes? What were that, like, how much school did you have in life, right?
Oh, yes.
And if you had a lot of school in life, then you say, oh man, my life was worth living.
Yes.
Because I've never seen a hearse with a luggage rack, And like after you're gone, maybe people remember you for a certain period of time. But even the greatest minds, become blimps like years down the line, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe we have a day of celebration and memory, but that essence of that vibration, yes, it is this ripple effect, and that doesn't mean that we don't impact. We do.
Yes.
But on your journey,
yes,
what was that school of life for?
Yeah.
And so, of course, it all, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, love your dialogue so much. That was like, I think, I've never heard anybody say exactly how you did, but you never know how one area, like rage, would have something to do with your money, because you think you're so right. And the way that you made that correlation in your dialogue just then is just like, oh yeah, you just made my heart like expand like a bajillion %. I love that you said that. So yeah, so that's what the champion system is. That's what we do. I tell people I work with alpha personality types, entrepreneurs and executives, athletes, leaders. But you know what? It's my low-key way of saying the most traumatized people on earth. Because I feel like the alpha personality types are the ones with the most trauma. That's why they're so freaking tough, because it's like the polarity of it, right?
I agree,
You have to have that polarizing strength to overcome these would-be polarizing, like, deaths of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's why they're leaders, because they've had it harder and more unimaginably than anyone else. The people that are quiet have gone through a lot of trauma and have their way of dealing with it. Again, to a polarizing end of silence and people pleasing, right? So it's always the polar opposite.
Yeah.
So somebody who's really, really super, super quiet and super, super people pleasing, I know. I'm like, yeah, I see you. Like, trauma sees trauma. We get it. Like, we got to be it to see it. So when we see it in other people, we've experienced it somewhere in ourselves, or we're still experiencing it. Yeah. So I always say to myself, when I'm feeling it from someone else, I'm like, oh yeah, I see you. So I don't know. I think that's what I love about working with entrepreneurs and executives. They're these mega overachievers, and when they finally do start to, realize, hey, I've been doing everything, and I have all the money in the world, and I have the happy marriage or the perfect life that everybody dreams of, but like, why do I still feel like crap? And it's been by happenstance. I haven't advertised my program at all. I mean, I'm going to start doing that this year. That's why I hired a business coach. But like, I'm really not advertising. It's been all by word of mouth, but also by vibration. Yeah. People find me when they're in that place where they're like, I've accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, but something still feels like it sucks. Yeah. Why do I feel like that? We find each other. It's like the way that I've ended up with every client, and the breakthroughs have been amazing. I mean, totally amazing.
That's beautiful. So if you're vibing, you know, you got to connect. We'll throw we'll throw your details out, how people can find you now, but we're not done with the podcast yet. So, but since it's a segue, we'll talk. So where can people find you?
So NITA'Marquez.com, that's my website for my one-on-one experiences. That's where I direct people. I also do corporate team building events, day events, and I can do, over the series of weeks, come in and work with sales teams, corporate teams, as a sales counselor, if you will. More like somebody that helps bring the morale up and help people get more laser focused and come from a more authentic, grounded place in themselves to be more impactful and productive and of quality production when they're in the workplace. So that one is OnTheMarq.com with a Q. And then my jumpsuits are OnTheMarqJumpsuit.com. So that's the 3 sites.
Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about these jumpsuits that are patented too, and and you don't have to take them off to go to the bathroom, right?
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about them. So when did the jumpsuit come into fruition for you?
When I retired from my athletic career in 2015, I'm like, oh gosh, I cannot believe that I'm retiring. Like I've been competing for 17 years at that point, and I was kind of reaching this sort of, as you can imagine, here I was with a failed marriage. My career is coming to an end. My kids are getting older, and I'm like, okay, wait, who am I again? I just went through anger management. Things are feeling like they're like starting to come together at this point. And all of a sudden I've got to change again. What's happening? But I just knew that I had this burning desire to make women feel beautiful and powerful, because as I was feeling that sort of displacement that I think every woman goes through at some point in her life, even if you're younger and it's like, maybe self-image issues or abandonment issues, or, when you're older and divorced, or maybe you lose a job, there's a time in every woman's life where we question our own identity. And I wanted something that would answer the call to that need. And so, the way that my mind works, the way that my brain works is, as I was in the midst of like kind of going through my own thing, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not alone. There's other women that feel like this. How can I make women feel beautiful and powerful? And I always tell people, have you ever been out with your girlfriend and she feels like crap? It's kind of like hanging out with like an overcooked spaghetti noodle. It's like, meh, because you can like tell when a woman hates herself, right? Yeah. But to the opposite, you can tell when a woman loves herself and when she feels beautiful, because when a woman feels beautiful, she feels super powerful. Like she could charge up the entire city of Los Angeles with her vibe. Yeah. Like she just radiates. It's like this undeniable, like just intoxicating vibration that she sends off, right? So, and she's infectious. And so I wanted to be able to create something that made that be what women felt. So making women feel beautiful and powerful was where the mission came from. And when I started thinking, okay, I think I'm going to create a jumpsuit, and I think it's going to be like this and da-da-da, and it'll make women feel sexy, and I'm thinking all about it. And then I was like, wait a second, hold on. Ex-athlete. I used to be an athlete, right? I drink like 2 gallons of water a day. I still live like this, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to be in the bathroom every day, all day, going, I hope nobody comes in. Like, I was like, this is not happening. So I decided I had to create some way that women could get in and out of this thing seamlessly.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, it's got to be cut to be dropped. And that's where the drop cut came from. So it's literally cut to be dropped. You just drop it on down. Comes all the way down to the knees. So when you have to go to the ladies' room, you just drop it down. So a lot of women, they want to dress more conservatively, maybe wear it to the office or out during the day. So they'll wear maybe like a hang top off the shoulder, or like a blazer or a cardigan over it, or kimonos. A lot of women wear kimonos with them. Then they don't have to take everything off and none of that. It's just like boop, boop, easy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they're engineered for that. That's where the patent came from. That's literally the story behind it.
No, but I mean, out of a need, out of something that is, nobody wants to take it all off, right? This is so
Such
uncomfortable, such a pain. And so, beautiful. And,
Thank you.
And what has the response been? I'm sure people,
It's, I don't know if you've ever heard of Jennifer Bricker. So she was born with no legs.
Okay.
And probably about a decade ago, she was on, I think it was 60 Minutes or 2020. She met her birth sister for the first time. Her birth sister is actually Dominique Comaniche.
Oh, wow.
And Jennifer was a gymnast with no legs. She was a gymnast for half her life. She was adopted by a family in Texas. Her parents abandoned her at the hospital. And so she never knew her adopted family until, this time ago when she decided to go find out who they were. But her family that raised her was a great family in Texas. And they always just said, whatever you want to do, we're going to do it. And she grew up, she was the baby sister of 2 big brothers that always looked out for her. Very loving family, very empowering family. And they really advocated for her. So she was my 4th client. And now she's like one of my ambassadors, and she always tells people, she's like, that drop cut is a game changer. She said, she probably has like 20 of my jumpsuits now, but she always says, like, that's the game changer. And besides her, there were other people that were just like, wait, what? You don't have to take it off? What? Like, they were just, that was the thing. That's definitely the hook, line, and sinker when people buy them. So I know that's like a super long-winded response, but Jennifer, I like talking about her experience with it, because when she found out about that, she was like, I need one in every color. I need to tell everybody in the world about this.
No, I mean, it's great. And I mean, I feel like the trend is that people like the onesies, people like the single pieces, and, I don't know, I mean, I see this being like the next Lululemon.
Hey, yeah, I
like
wouldn't,
Spanx,
I wouldn't cough at an alliance with either one of those guys. I like both their brands. So, and I do hear from a lot of people, and in fact, one of the boutiques that carries my stuff in Laguna Beach, that is what they sell it as. They always say it's like Spanx for the whole body.
Yeah.
But it's easy to remove.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case all the time.
That's
with
not
some of
the
those.
case any of the time. What are you talking about?
So that's the
Especially
thing.
when people are active and they're in it, running around. They're working out, this and that. They want to go to the restroom. They want to be able to, Yeah, it's not like you're going out at the. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like people need the functionality that this provides.
Exactly.
And all the cute patterns and colors and the way that
Thank you.
Let's look at how you have it tied up on the back here, but we'll turn it around. Do 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 do. Bum 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 ba-dum.
Yep. Yeah, and we actually, we've been discussing the idea, because this is the centerpiece of the line. I have 6 other products built into the business plan to roll out in the next 2 years, but I really don't see myself rolling anything else out as a main product on the site, other than, customizations. I do offer customized orders through the site, but I really want the centerpiece of the line, the actual OnTheMarq jumpsuit. I want that to be what people know us for, because it is something that offers, to your point, functionality. You know, my whole thing is it's got to be simple, it's got to be stylish, because the women that wear it are straight up, strong, like busy women. Mm-hmm. They're not looking for we're not looking for the Kim K knockoffs who want to spend 4 hours in the mirror.
Yeah.
We're looking to fit the woman who needs something that fits her life, no matter how fast her life moves.
Moving, fast, rapid, ain't got no time for games and holdups, right?
Exactly. And I always grew up hearing, because my mom's very pretty and she has a pretty sister and she had pretty friends, and I always heard beauty is pain. And I remember growing up just thinking, I don't really think that it has to be like that. I don't want it to be painful. I don't want to do things that are painful and complicated.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be required of me just because I'm a woman, and much less if I am an attractive woman by anyone's standards. Why the hell am I going to work to impress anybody?
Yeah.
No, thank you. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be me. You can take it or leave it. We could part as friends if you don't like it. That's an old sales phrase. But, like, it's all good, whatever,
But, and in this champion system, and you talk a lot about, like, hydration, right? Like, I feel like
Yes.
you don't need to do much to your face if you just hydrate, right?
Seriously.
So.
It's so true. Speaking of, yeah, and I carry this thing with me everywhere. I'm literally, I think I need to have one customized that says Liberate on the side of it, because they're so big, these things, and they're so tall. But like, I kind of want it to be decorated. I wanted to have like a statement on it. But yeah, I drink like probably 6 to 8 liters of water a day, and I've been doing that for let's see, I'm 49 now, so I started when I was like 21, 22 to drink more water. I started with 1 gallon a day, and now I drink about 6 to 8 liters. So I'm drinking about 2 gallons of water a day on average.
Wow.
So
That's so good. So
I
good
was
for you.
like, there's no way I'm gonna get naked 19 times a day.
If you're drinking 2 gallons a day, how many times are you going to the restroom, right? So out of functionality and need for you, you created this beauty that is now, it's in boutiques, more and more boutiques, hopefully creating it. Of course, on OnTheMarq.com, you can buy them, you can customize them. If you have different curvatures, different shapes, different places that
we
you
fit
need.
sizes 0 to size 20.
So yes, it's beautiful. And I love this champion system.
Thank you.
I think that everything you're doing is amazing. I hope that people are inspired by this podcast and that they reach out to you for some one-on-ones, or the e-program that you have coming up, or to get one of your OnTheMarq jumpsuits here, and and seeing what else you create as you continue to expand, now that you're in this vibration of seeing what's there to learn and grow through expansion. See, that's the beauty of it, I think, is that, once you heal from the past and you go through these challenges that are for the chosen ones, right?
Yes.
That you heal that and you move beyond it, and then now you can have this level of growth, and you can say, well, how high can I grow? How big can I flourish my fruits? Where can I go from here? Because you're not fighting off or shifting from the baggage of the past anymore.
Right.
And so you can get it. That doesn't mean that your life needs to be this whole chain of trail of suffering. It's like you go through these hard times, you grow, you learn, right?
Yeah, and evolve.
And then you can say, well, I want an opportunity, or I'm curious about ease or effortless abundance or this other experience, right?
Yes.
And then things can just go like that from there. So I'm
That's so
excited
true.
to see where this tree branches out for you.
Thank
what
you.
else you got to create and do with your lines, and where that leads you. And so we're here for you. Liberate's here to hear more stories, maybe have you on the podcast again. About to do another podcast that's all about overcoming obstacles is like an offshoot of this one, and love to feature you on that one as well.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
So once again, where can people find you? Because this is the end.
So OnTheMarq.jumpsuit.com, and that's on the mark with a Q. OnTheMarq.com with a Q, once again, for my team building coaching programs for corporate and companies. And then for my one-on-one support, NITA'Marquez.com, NITA Marquez.com.
Perfect. We'll put those all down below. Thank you for joining. If you listen to us on one of the audio platforms, please go and check out the YouTube. That's where you can see the beautiful jumpsuits. You can see Nita. You can listen and hear to some of these. We cut them into shorter segments so you can find the good parts that you just love, the juicy parts, share them, let other people know, hear this wisdom. And then like, comment, and subscribe on all the platforms so we can get more noticed. Thank you, and until next time.
Thanks, guys.
If you like this content, make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment below. And we also have an amazing link right there for some cool product. I know you want to check it out. I know you want to click it. Go ahead. Come on. You can do it. All right, until next time, have a beautiful, blessed day. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want to hear more about what we have going on and happening online or in the neighborhood, check out liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Liberate Yourself. It's YouRself, URSELF. Until next time, be powerful, be magical, and be free.